Parenting. It's arguably one of the hardest things you'll ever do, simply because nobody ever really gives you a manual on how to raise a child. We have come a long way in child development and parent education over the last few decades. I'm going to break down 4 parenting styles, show you exactly how they look in action by using examples that you'll recognize. I'll also explain why your approach might be the most important factor in your child's future. Now let's get started with the parenting style that values strict control above all else. And this is authoritarian parenting. Authoritarian parenting is what we all know as the because I said so parenting. It's characterized by very little warmth towards children, strict rules, high expectations, and an expectation to blind obedience. Think of characters like Red Foreman or King Trident from The Little Mermaid. Being an overly strict parent comes at a cost. It often leads to resentment, delinquency, and even low self-esteem. Eric Foreman from that 70s show is a perfect example of that. But although there are negative aspects to this type of parenting, it isn't all bad. It creates a high level of structure, discipline, and responsibility. This parenting style was essentially the default for most of human history, mainly because it prioritized survival and order. It wasn't until recently, maybe in the 1960s, that a shift started to happen. And maybe not even until the 1990s that parenting culture started to shift into what we know today. Next, we have permissive parenting, which is essentially the opposite of authoritarian parenting. It potentially stems from somebody who grew up with parents who were too strict and now want nothing to do with that type of parenting, which can be taken to the other extreme. Now, this kind of parenting is characterized by lots of warmth towards children, but very low boundaries. It's also where the term gentle parenting can be misunderstood. When done incorrectly, this results in a power struggle where the authority goes to the kids. They become the boss. An example of permissive parenting are characters like Regina George's mom from Mean Girls. She even says, "There are no rules in this house." Permissive parenting can cause impulsive behaviors, egocentrism, and problematic relationships. Regina George is a great example of that. But on the positive side of permissive parenting, it does show warmth, acceptance, and responsiveness to the children's needs. So just like authoritarian parenting, along with the negative aspects, there are good traits to these types of parents. The next type of parenting style is the neglectful or uninvolved parent. These parents are often physically or emotionally absent, uninterested, or have very little time for their children. And it is important to note that this type of parenting isn't always by choice. Unfortunately, a lot of single parents fall into this category by default, not because they want to or because they're bad parents, but because they're forced into it. They work multiple jobs to keep a roof on their children's head, to keep food on the table, and that leads to a lot of uninvolvement in their children's lives. But when this type of parenting is by choice, this parenting style is characterized by cold and unresponsive to the child's needs, with little to no rules or emotional connection. This can also lead children to have impulsive delinquency behaviors, and in worst cases, abuse and even suicide. A perfect example of this would be the Dursleys from Harry Potter and how they treat Harry. They are unresponsive to his needs, they don't interact with him at all, and to be honest, the Dursleys are a great example of the worst type of parents that you could be. They're unresponsive to Harry, so they're uninvolved, and they're extremely permissive towards their own son, Dudley, because they give him whatever he wants and he's in charge. Now, the neglectful parent is the most problematic type of parent, as it's the least involved out of all 4 types of parenting styles, and it offers the lowest level of support to children. Research shows that children who are raised under this type of parenting style are forced to develop high levels of independence and autonomy, but that independence is usually a survival mechanism. It's not a healthy development. Lastly, we have the authoritative parenting. Now, this is the definition of the ideal parent. This is what most parents should strive to be like. This is also what gentle parenting is supposed to be when done correctly. Authoritative parenting is characterized by clear standards, assertiveness, and high expectations, balancing all of that with a high level of responsiveness to children's needs. This type of parent shows support to children by listening to them and encouraging independence rather than forcing it. In many ways, this type of parenting style takes the best characteristics of all the other styles, the structure of authoritarian parenting and the warmth of the permissive parenting, without any of the toxic drawbacks. Think of someone like Mufasa from The Lion King. When Simba breaks the rules and wanders into danger, Mufasa shows his frustration with him and the group, and it's a long and painful walk back home. But once Mufasa makes sure everybody's safe, he explains why he's upset. He tells him the dangers of the world, and then he reassures him that he still loves him. He doesn't hold a grudge, and he turns this mistake into a teaching moment, and the relationship remains secure. Now, is it possible to parent like this? Yes, absolutely. Is it easy? Definitely not. This type of parenting requires a lot of work from the parent's side. You need to work on being patient and self-regulating your own emotions. Kids will be kids. They will make a ton of mistakes, and it's our job as parents to teach, guide, and choose how to respond. Our parenting style will teach our children how to navigate through the world. Now, I want you to think about what kind of parent you had. Were they super strict, or did they let you do whatever you want, or were they rarely around? My mom kind of fell into all four categories at some point in her life, and most parents do fluctuate between these categories. Life gets busy, work gets in the way. Sometimes you might have had a bad day and you just lash out. But regardless of what kind of parents you had, you get to decide what kind of parent you want to be. There is a balance to be found. Authoritarian parents are usually a little too harsh, while neglectful and permissive parents are too lenient. And the research shows that children thrive when they have clear rules and expectations paired with consistent, warm support. And I always hear, but my parents were super strict and I turned out fine. And my answer to that usually is something like, okay, but how is your relationship with your parents now? Every once in a while it's fine, but most of the time, they don't even talk to their parents. And I doubt that's the kind of relationship that you want with your children. So I invite you to think about this. If you have kids, listen to them. Understand their needs and their perspective. Don't just decide everything for them. And if you don't have kids yet, think about what kind of parent you want to be and how you want your kids to remember you. Thanks for watching.